Hi, everyone. My name is Cynthia Koons. I'm a healthcare reporter at Bloomberg News. I cover a wide range of issues related to healthcare, but women's healthcare is obviously close to my heart, and I believe we have a lot of strides to make in this area, and I'm delighted to be here with our panelists. So I will have them each introduce themselves and their business and how it pertains to healthcare for women specifically. I think that might be a good way to get started. So Kate, if you want to begin.
Hello, hello. Great. I'll give it to you next. Hi, everybody. Do you guys need to do like an afternoon stretch? You want to do that?
Okay.
All right. I'm pregnant, so I really need to stretch. We are talking about healthcare, so I thought a little wellness, right?
Works for me.
Okay, so I'm Kate Ryder. I'm the founder and CEO of Maven. So do we have any users in the room? Have you ever used Maven for a prescription, a quick chat? No, yes. Well, hopefully by the end of the day, you all can download our app. So what we are is we are a telemedicine network of women's and family health providers. So what that means is you can go on our app, you can have a video appointment with a doctor, a nurse practitioner, a therapist, a nutritionist, and ultimately you can get a prescription. You can just get some advice if you need it, and it's really about making healthcare more accessible and more affordable for everyone. And then one of our big what we put a lot of our resources into is we actually power fertility, maternity, and postpartum benefits for a lot of companies in the U.S. From companies as small as 200 people to companies as large as 200,000. And so that is in giving women greater accessible care during their kind of pregnancy and postpartum time. So I launched the business 3.5 years ago, and excited to talk to you guys today.
Hi, I'm Samantha Nerove. I'm the founder and CEO of America Matters. We are a centrist nonprofit. We only focus on issues that matter to people, not the party or politics. When I launched this back in July of 2016, keep in mind there was a presidential race going on. People said if I didn't stand on one side or the other, either the left or the right, that I stood for nothing. And I told them they were wrong, that I was going to stand firmly in the center and focus on issues, and that was going to be my position. And I've done that. The growth in our nonprofit was instantaneous. Within months, we were reaching 20 million people via social media per month. We put out a video. We go to 1, 2, 4, 6 million views within days. We do our production in-house. We've got fantastic people. We are also very focused on things like American values, because America matters. Our world matters, and we look at ourselves as a member of the global community. And that's where it's so important in what we do to keep our focus not just here at home, but abroad. One of the things we are doing right now is I've launched a coalition called the #StopFemaleGenitalMutilation Coalition. When I talk about this, usually people say, oh yeah, I've heard about that. So glad it doesn't happen here. Problem is, that's wrong. It is happening here, right here in the United States. The CDC, the Center for Disease Control, put out a report last year that said over 513,000 little girls have either undergone this procedure or are at risk in the United States alone. So what does that mean to us? That means we have something to do. Do means protect. We need to protect these little girls so they can grow into the women they're going to become. And the coalition is comprised of people from the communities affected by this, because that way they can go into their communities and they can talk about female genital mutilation and people can relate to them. And so what we do at America Matters is we support people, coalition members, survivors, doctors, lawyers, activists, scholars, imams, people around the globe who are interested in working together to stop FGM. And that together piece is really important because on most issues, and I'm talking about this coalition, on most issues, our coalition members do not agree. But they have said that through America Matters as a centrist platform, that they will work on female genital mutilation because they do agree on this issue, that it's something we need to stop. And we do that by educating, informing, and then moving people to action.
Angie?
Hi, I'm Angie Bastian, and I find myself on a health panel. And it may be because before we started, Dan and I started our popcorn business, I was a psychiatric nurse practitioner for 28 years and worked in the public sector in healthcare. And then we started a food company and brought some of our values into that food company, where we wanted to serve people who wanted to serve simple food and create a business that is healthy for our employees as well as our consumers.
So now, given the roles, the various roles that you guys have at this point, what do you see as the most critical issue as it pertains to women's health right now, and what do you think we can do to address this, either through the role that you're in now or just at large in terms of dealing with some of the things that maybe we're falling short of here in the U.S. when we compare ourselves even to other industrialized nations where rates of maternal mortality are much lower than they are here, for example. So things of this nature. I don't know if you want to start, Kate, since this is something you work towards.
Sure, yeah. So I think, we have large systemic issues we need to solve, particularly as healthcare reform is being debated in Congress, whether that's Medicaid reform, because Medicaid disproportionately affects women, or, making sure that maternity benefits are available to everyone. From my vantage point, we see a lot of issues in the corporate space. So just to give you an idea of the landscape, there's 4 million babies born every year. 1 out of 2 are born on corporate health plans, and as you know, we're one of the only developed nations without paid leave. And then kind of on top of that, if you look at the stats, 43% of new moms leave the workforce after having a baby. And so as you look at all of the data coming back on, women in corporate positions, women at the board level, women leading, in leadership positions at companies, a lot of it goes back to the fact that there's so few women in the leadership pipeline because we're not supporting women's health issues early on. So I would say, kind of macro level, I really hope that as healthcare reform is debated, women's health is not left behind, because there haven't been great debates going on for women's health to progress it. But then from our vantage point, it really is this issue of what do fertility, maternity, and postpartum benefits look like in the workforce, and how does that affect gender equality at work overall?
Empowerment. We need to empower women to be able to make the decisions they want to make for themselves. Those independent decisions can affect everything they do. If they want to leave the workforce to have a family, they can. If they want to stay in the workforce and raise a family, they can do that too. For little girls to know what's right with their bodies and what's wrong with their bodies. I've heard other panelists here today who I have been so impressed with, and listening to what they're doing and the things they are doing to help make the world a better place for women. And one of those things that has been very touched by today, and it touches very close to what we do, is helping young girls understand what their rights are, what their entitlements are, so that if something is wrong or something is being done wrong, that they can find a voice and a place where when they speak, their voice is heard. Really important, because when we're talking about female genital mutilation, and we're talking about little girls being held down against their will, and I'm not saying this for shock effect, folks, but I'm going to share this. If you've watched this or studied this or seen this, it's heartbreaking. Because this is not, in most cases, a clinical procedure done with anesthesia. This is the mothers, the grandmothers, the aunts, deciding that it's time for their little girl, usually under the age of 12 or 13, somewhere between infancy and 12 and 13, it's time for her to have her genitals sliced off. And that is done by women, to women. It's a learned behavior that continues to perpetuate itself. And the way this is done is these little girls are taken to various places. They're pinned down. Usually the women sit on them, pin their arms and legs down, they spread their legs, and their genitals are sliced off with dull razor blades, shards of glass, or any other dirty utensil that can be found to do this. Then they are stitched up. And the survivors we talk with, what we're working with, one of the things that every one of them says, they all say, I am not a victim. The victims are the little girls who die when this is done to them because they hemorrhage and they die in place. Those are the victims. These are the survivors. So not only are they surviving something, we have the ability to stop this by working together. But those little girls who then grow into women, they're missing, clearly they're missing a part of their body. It's been amputated. But that also means that they don't have that physical piece, but they also don't have some of the physical sensations that come with our budding and emerging sexuality. So who they become as women has been stagnated by something that was done to them against their will when they were children. So not only do we need to stop this, and I'm going to shock you guys for a sec here, as if I haven't already. In 1996, a federal law was put in place here in the United States that banned female genital mutilation. In the ensuing years, 26 states have enacted laws to, again, ban FGM. A little bit of math tells us that that means 24 states have not criminalized female genital mutilation. Shocking, and it's staggering. The other piece of this is that in the communities that do this, and I'm going to say most, all right, I'm going to say most of the people who are having this done to their little girls, the families that do this, they're not doing it to be brutal or horrible or mean. They're doing it, they think they're doing the right thing. They think they're providing opportunity for good marriage, to protect their virginity, their purity. That in many communities, they think that if they don't have this procedure, they cannot have children. So that this is a mandatory procedure for childbirth. The exact opposite is in fact the truth. So there are so many misconceptions about this. So educating the people in the communities so they can change the way they think about this, so that instead of looking at this practice as something helpful to the child, to the girl child, they see it as harmful and they can stop this. And that's the empowerment that we need to make sure that these little girls have, that all women have in all walks of life for all reasons. And then we need to provide opportunities for those girls, for the women, to get help when they need it. And that's a holistic approach to help, and that's one of the programs we're developing at America Matters.
Well, I'll speak to business and what role we can play. And I think part of it has to do with when we started early on, we decided we were going to make a workplace that was both physically and emotionally safe for all of our employees. And that started on the production floor where we didn't want people to get hurt with big equipment, but that transformed into creating an environment of empowerment and an environment that early on, of course, in a startup, and this is the problem with many startups, you don't have the money to pay for benefits or for health insurance, but you learn very quickly how you can make that happen. And over time, as startups grow, they're able to add benefits and add things that are valuable to women and families. And part of that is maternal and paternal leave, which we have the American Medical Act that allows for 3 months, but it's without pay. And so, as our company has evolved and matured, we've been able to figure out how to get, and we self-fund this, 8 weeks of maternity, paternity leave for all of our employees. And it's become a tremendous recruitment and retention tool for women in leadership, because our women leaders within the company, they want to have families. They want to be close to their children, and we needed to provide a way for them to do that. And so it takes a while for businesses to figure that out, but once they figure it out, it's a tremendous tool for businesses to pull that lever and get women in leadership roles.
Now, following up a bit on that issue, the idea of retaining and attracting women, given Kate mentions 43% of new mothers are leaving the workforce, like how does that reflect with your experience, and also what other things have maybe you learned and have surprised you about the challenges of retaining women, be it through maybe benefits or other things you didn't foresee trying to build a female workforce within your organization?
Yeah, I think women with STEM degrees, industrial engineers, chemical engineers, at high demand, right? So as soon as we get a GM of our plant that happens to an industrial engineer, she gets recruited away to some other bigger company. So it's good for women, and it will make us better in competitively working in the marketplace. So I think women are in unique positions to take advantage of supply and demand in terms of their skill set in sort of STEM oriented professions. And sometimes we can't react fast enough, and I think one of the important things for us to do in small business as well as larger businesses is to really kind of support and encourage women and networking groups and celebrate when they get a bigger, better job, because we want them to get a bigger, better job as they grow. And so it's making sure that they've got the support and the references they need if they want to continue to exert their ambition and grow in the marketplace.
Now, Kate, your business sounds like something that could be really worthwhile for expanding access to healthcare more broadly. But what are the key barriers you've come up across in terms of trying to grow your business, or what are the things that you're trying to do to kind of circumvent areas where it's maybe harder to grow and not quite what you expected?
So just from a broad telemedicine standpoint, I think that the barrier is simply video appointments are new user behavior. And so it's just getting customers used to the fact that actually this is the future of healthcare. As healthcare moves out of the hospital setting and out of the clinical setting and into the home for some of these lower lift issues, that it's getting people to try a video appointment. But really, I mean, the regulatory landscape on the telemedicine side is very favorable, because I think healthcare, everyone knows that you have to lower costs and you have to expand access, and this is a great way to do it. On the corporate side, as we sell into fertility, maternity, and postpartum benefits programs, I mean, actually that part of it is going extremely well, and we're seeing kind of rapid market adoption. I think what's in our favor is that if you look across all of the parts of healthcare that have a lot of costs, so it could be diabetes, oncology, a lot of companies are realizing that they're not getting value from what the insurance companies are giving them. So they're adopting these point solutions, and they've been really successful in other areas like diabetes management or oncology management, that now they're actually looking at maternity, because maternity is one of the top costs for a lot of US companies. And and so it's for economic reasons that they're like, we should actually provide better benefits to women, and then what comes on top of that is and retain them, and and make the workplace better for them. So actually we do see a lot of favorable things in that respect.
And we're just near the wrap here, but any last words or thoughts you would give to budding entrepreneurs to help advance women's health causes, or potentially just take a more active role or help promote women within the workforce? Any last thoughts you want to leave?
Yeah, so for any entrepreneurs in the room who are healthcare entrepreneurs, my advice is get a great lawyer early on, because it's a highly complicated landscape, and then to just stick with it.
Rethink the way we think about the word no. No is an opportunity to turn it into a yes, and just keep going, because if I stopped where people said no, or if I stopped every time I've been knocked down, pushed down, or fell over, I'd be still a mess, a puddle on the floor somewhere, instead of here working with powerful people, a coalition of men and women who are out changing the world. So no is just a yes that hasn't happened yet.
Good job. I'm going to say, begin to think about innovation as more than just, if you have a business, if you're creating a product, think about innovation as more than just a product, but an innovation of ideas. And I think for this, we use the innovation of ideas in terms of how we sell food, how we market food. And we have a uniquely feminine looking brand and product by the name Angie's BOOMCHICKAPOP. So this innovation was about how we speak to consumers. It's not about prescribing to women about how they should look or act or feel, but to celebrate the feminine and to offer food that is healthy and interesting and something that delivers on what women are interested in eating without making them feel they have a moment of conflict or marketing to them in a sexualized way. So this is what companies can do. And if you think about innovation and you have a popcorn company, you can make a difference out there in the world of social media or in social selling. And it's the way that you talk to people that matters as much as the products that you offer.
Thank you all very much for your insights, sharing your insights today. It's been
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I say good afternoon, everyone. Oh, one. Let's give Wendy another big applause for this incredible day, huh? Woo! I'm not as good at that as she is. So this is a very special part of the day for us. Wendy invited me 5 years, my God, Wendy, 5 years ago. 5 years for us because we decided 5 years ago. Remember? So I just done TEDx United Nations and Wendy came up to me and said, I'm going to do this. And she said, will you help me? And I said, there were two options, run or say yes. And I thought, you know, the safer option was to say yes at the time. And also the braver option. Because she said, I want to do Women's Entrepreneurship Day. And I wasn't really an entrepreneur at the time, but then I became one, thanks to Wendy. And it's taught me a lot about myself. It's taught me a lot about women. And it's taught me a lot about how women are going to be the force for good in the future. Personally, I believe that we don't have a problem with abundance of resources or technology. We have a leadership problem here and now. And you see it right at the top. And it trickles right down to the bottom. So I feel that the power of the future beholds women to come together and support not only each other, but us, men, to rise up and become better men of the future. So with that, I introduce the WED Fellows, which are the cornerstone of what I consider the future. So these are extraordinary women doing extraordinary things from around the world. We have someone from Denmark, from Guatemala, you know, and right here in the United States, right here in New York. So you're going to hear some incredible stories, and I'm not the show, so I'm going to get off stage. But yeah, the more important piece is that we support one another through our stories, and more important, through the impact we have in our lives. So thank you for having us, and welcome, WED Fellows.
Hi, my name is Monica Eichen. I'm a native New Yorker, born and bred. Grew up on the Upper East Side when it was very dangerous. And we couldn't go past 86th Street where Woolworths used to be. I don't know if anybody remembers those days with Gimbals and Alexander's. And I loved growing up in the Upper East Side. And I became a school teacher for the Board of Ed and decided my life was set. I'm going to be a teacher, and I'm going to teach. I had all these, I taught all my stuffed animals and dolls, and they're very smart to this day. And I did all my schooling in New York. I went to Hunter College. I went to St. Stephen's for elementary, and I went to Cathedral for high school. So very proud to say I'm a native New Yorker. And my life took a turn on 9/11, 1999. I met my soulmate, Michael. And in Riverdale in the Bronx. I was teaching in the South Bronx, and I thought this is my soulmate. So remember, 9/11, 1999. And we planned our whole lives together. So 3 months from there, he proposed unbeknownst to any of us, I said yes. I was kind of in shock at the time. It was 3 months. Everybody thought we were pretty crazy, but we did it. And we got married we moved in right away and got married that following October 2000 on the 27th. And we were very happy, looking forward to having a family. And dreams were being made. And I was going to be a teacher and have, this perfect opportunity, married, and I'm set. So the story begins on 9/11/2001, when the nightmare has begun. I woke up and my husband said, turn on the TV. And I'm like, why is he calling me? He left. He would always leave early. He was a bond trader in Tower 2 on the 84th floor. And he said, a commuter plane hit the building. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I couldn't even register what he was saying to me. So I turn on the TV, and I see this giant gaping hole. And I'm like, he's talking to me and saying commuter plane. I see this giant hole in the screen. And I'm like, nothing is registering. First of all, I've known the towers my whole life. I was 31. I'm like, this is not happening. And I really thought it was a commuter plane. That's what they said it was. So the next thing you know, he's like, I have to go. And I'm like, okay. And he was very calm, so I didn't react. I thought, this is fine. This is going to be okay. Everything's under control. So he calls me back, and he says, call the family and friends and tell them everything is fine, because he was in Tower 2. So he didn't know what I was seeing on the screen, and because they were saying everything was fine, everything was under control. The next thing you know, he says, I have to go, people are jumping out of windows, and I'm like horrified. So I get the phone, I come back in the room, and I'm gonna call family and friends. He said, he's fine, everything's good. I watch in horror as the second plane is now hitting Tower 2. And I've never been in my life frozen in my space, in my time. I just couldn't even do anything. I didn't know how to react. I didn't know what to do. I finally realized that something bad happened. I'm going to start dialing now the phone to see if he answers. Nothing, busy, nothing's happening. So there's my nightmare. What am I going to do now? I'm married 11 months, have my whole life set. I wanted to have a family with my soulmate, Michael. We were so happy and blessed. His birthday was just on 9/8. He turned 37. He just died. I mean, he was gone. He went to work and he died. It was just this horrific feeling of what am I going to do with my life? How is this my nightmare? So I decided I just couldn't function, and I wasn't doing well. As women would know, I was a size 8 at the time, and I went down to a 0. Because I was kind of in a bad space and I didn't know what to do. And about 10 days later, a miracle happened. After not knowing my husband's not coming home to me, and not knowing what to do with that, God spoke to me. My family and friends said, go rest. And I said, okay, fine, I'm gonna rest. And God spoke to me and said, you're gonna go on a mission. I'm like, no. There's no mission happening here. I'm not well, I'm not able to do that, and I had this big battle with myself and whoever was speaking to me, and I call him God. And I went on this mission, and I said, I'm not going to let them build over dead people. That was about 10 days after, and everybody thought I was out of my mind, but I knew I had to do something. There was no way I was going to allow them to build over dead people. That was sacred and hallowed space. And my mission began. September's mission was formed. Angels came out of everywhere and helped me set up this mission, and it became a reality that we went down and we started to think about how we're going to not build over dead people, and we started this memorial process, and in a time when recovery was going on and everybody was like, this is not happening, you're not doing that, this is prime real estate, you're not going to build, we're not making a memorial. So as you know, fast forward a little bit, from 0 acres we got half of the site. And that was with working with other 9/11 family groups, stakeholders, civic leaders, business, residents, everybody you could think of. I spent all of my time doing this work, living, breathing, eating 9/11. That's all I did, was go to every meeting, did anything I could possibly do to make sure that we preserve that space and create a world-class memorial. As you see in a bonus now, this beautiful memorial museum that we have, world class. So I became one of the main people advocating for the memorial, and here we have it today. As you see, millions and millions of people from all over the world have gone to it. And if you haven't gone, you really need to go. It tells a story. To this day, my Michael, I have no remains, so that is my safe place to go and be with him and really honor his life, because he was only 37. And I know he's with me every day because he always sends me signs, and I am remarried to a fireman. That's how that works. And I have 2 beautiful girls, which is why this is so important that they understand the legacies that we leave for them. Now 10 and 12, and with that I have opened an Icon preschool, the first STEM preschool on the Upper East Side, dedicated to Michael. And we trademarked it, so his name will always live on, whether I'm here or not, and my girls will continue his legacy. I'm working on a book. I did a documentary, Committed to Memory, and at 5 minutes, very hard to tell you all my stuff. I also did an app as well to clean up our city streets called Sidewalk Dodge, and helping do I Can Do It. So that is the message, really, that we can do anything we set our minds to, and the no is very clear. When people say no, like former Mayor Bloomberg, which he's taken back, of course, said no, never will happen. And Silverstein, no, it's never going to happen. All these powerful people said no. And here we are with this amazing world-class memorial and museum that you can't even imagine. It's still hard for me to even know that we did this, that little old me went and did something and so powerful that millions of people have now gone to, almost 60. So it's amazing, and I'm glad, thank you for listening to my story. We can do it, girls. We can do it. No is the new yes, and I like that.